Welcome back to Make Yoga Your Business podcast. Today, how to create a newsletter as a yoga teacher and why it will absolutely transform your business. Let's jump in. Welcome to Make Yoga Your Business, the podcast for yoga teachers and wellness professionals who are ready to grow a purposeful and profitable business. Grab your tea, your mat, or just some space to tune in, and let's make yoga your business. Hello and welcome back to Make Yoga Your Business podcast. I'm your host, Kai. Thanks so much for tuning back in. And if you're new here, welcome. We talk all things growing and scaling your yoga business. This week, we're talking on a topic that I've mentioned before. You guys, if you've been around here for long, you know that I am huge on you having an email list. Why? Because this is ultimately the indicator of what grows your business. We talk a lot of things business and numbers and technicalities here, but I try to present it in a way that is really digestible, really elementary. So know that there are two things that determine whether or not your business is growing. Really, there's one thing. It's money. If you have a business, of course it's about service. Of course it's about what you're offering the world. But ultimately, you do not have a business unless you have income streams, unless you're making money. So the more money you make in your business, the more revenue you make, the more your business grows. But then there's this other metric that I want to throw in here that is also a good indicator on whether or not your business is growing, and that is the size of your email list. Listen, guys, the way business works these days is you have to have a list that you own in order to have a business. You have to have a list of people and their contact information, a way to get a hold of them so that you can ultimately sell them something and stay in contact, grow a relationship with them in order to have a business. Otherwise, we're just relying on paid ads all the time, which there's a time and place, and that's great. But the way you're really going to nurture relationships with your potential clients and students and have a way to pitch them the sale when that time comes is through your newsletters and through your emails. So I don't think it's any shocker that I'll say it again here. If Facebook shut down tomorrow, if Instagram shut down tomorrow, if your yoga studio closed, you had no way to get in touch with your past students from the studio, your followers that used to have an Instagram. If you didn't have any way to get a hold of those guys, think about it. You would literally be starting from zero. You could be 10 years in the game, and if you don't have contact info for any of your past students or any of your followers, you do not have a business. You are starting from zero. That would be tragic. I don't want that for any of you. And this is reality. These things happen. These apps' algorithms change all the time. We can never guarantee that we're going to be in front of the people we want to be in front of. And studios can change. Studios can flux. You could get fired or you could, move. I hear this all the time from people who they move to a different state or a different country and they don't have a community anymore. But just think, if they had the emails of all of those past students, they could still offer them something and have a way to sell and therefore still continue on with their business. I'm not saying that relying on social media at times is not a good move. I started on social media. I didn't know any of this business stuff when I got started 7 years ago, but I did pick up pretty quickly that even though I had a couple hundred followers on Instagram, very few of them were actually seeing what I was sharing. And so when I started to host these events, I would make sure I had the email of every single person who attended. And that's how I started. I just started getting emails and sending them a newsletter like once a month from there. And that is how my business ultimately slowly grew. But you don't need to start that way. You don't need to baby step it like I did. In this episode, I want to walk you through the steps you can take to start your newsletter, start your email list, what you can be sharing to develop those relationships, to nurture your audience and students, and how ultimately you can use that to sell your services. Okay, so now that we know that a newsletter is important, right? You're on board, you want to have an email list, you want to start a newsletter. Great. I hope you do. I hear from so many teachers that they're just overwhelmed. They don't know where to get started. Us yoga teachers fall in this trap of as soon as something techie comes up, we kind of are like, Okay, I can't do it. I give up. Trust me, this software that we have these days is so much more simple and user-friendly than it used to be. When I was getting started, I mean, gosh, there was only a couple options and the tech was really glitchy. I'm going to tell you right now, doing something was like an all-day task. It would take me forever and I didn't have ChatGPT to ask to walk me through it. I had to figure this all out on my own. So just know that things are easier now, and I promise you, you can do this. Start on something like MailChimp, start on something like ConvertKit. There are software out there that it's just an email marketing software. I've touched on these before. You don't want to be using your regular Gmail for very long. There's a lot of complications with deliverability. You'll show up as spam. It also just doesn't look that professional, to be honest. If you have a domain name that you can be sending things under, you're just going to look so much more legit and trustworthy. If you want more on this piece, go back to my last episode about building an email list, and I can't remember exactly what it was called or the number, but there's only a few episodes right now. So scroll back, see that other one, and you'll see more details on that. But ConvertKit, MailChimp, really low barrier to entry options. They're not that expensive in terms of being one of the main softwares of your business. So look into those and just pick one, get started. The next most common question I get from teachers is, okay, Kai, but I have no idea what to share. I know that I'm supposed to have a newsletter, but what the heck am I going to share in my newsletter? This is something that teachers overcomplicate and overthink to the moon. I promise you, you're overcomplicating it. You can share such simple things to make a newsletter valuable. Think things like tips for staying grounded, tips for practicing yoga at home, schedule updates, what you're doing in the studio and how your schedule's fluctuating. You can share behind the scenes of your upcoming workshops or retreats or offerings. You can share invites to workshops, retreats, and offerings. If you're like a foodie, you can share some recipes, especially if they're wellness based. You could share articles or books that you're reading, anything that kind of relates to the practice and the way that you like to share it. Your students will love to hear that from you. A good place to start, I love Tim Ferriss as an example. If you are not subscribed to Tim Ferriss's newsletter, he is the perfect example of how simple you can do this. He has one of the most popular newsletters in the world, and it's so simple. He shares 5 things, 5 Bullet Friday, every Friday, and it's just like a very simple one-page newsletter share. And he'll always share like a quote, what he's reading, what he's listening to, whatever. Go to timferriss.blog, I think it is. Google Tim Ferriss, sign up for his newsletter, and just get some inspiration over there. Again, just start building the habit of putting a newsletter out there. Stop trying to make it perfect right away. You're going to get better with repetition. Whatever your students reply to you about, you're going to over time start to have students that say, wow, this really resonated. Ooh, I loved this. That feedback, once you get started, is ultimately what's going to probably shape what you share. So overthinking it in the beginning is just not productive. So how do you grow this newsletter? How do you get new people on your newsletter? And in my past episode where I talked about building an email list, I gave some examples like having a sign-up sheet at your class, that in your public classes. So I'm not going to go too much into that. You could always go back and listen to that episode. But I want to touch on this idea of having what we call a freebie or a quote lead magnet. I like the word freebie. Pretty much it just means that you are giving away something for free in exchange for that student's email. What I see is working a lot in the yoga space is, say, a 5-day yoga challenge. You could be hosting a 5-day yoga challenge via Zoom or just on YouTube. And if people want, they can give you their email and you can email them through your newsletter every day with the link to that video. I love doing these kind of challenges. I think it gets the community really excited, really involved. It can really spark somebody back into their practice, but it doesn't have to be this. Maybe you have a PDF guide of the yoga poses you love to do in the morning. Maybe you have 5 recipes for your homemade herbal blends, a guided meditation download. Whatever it is, something of value that is related to your niche that you can offer your students for free in exchange for their email, and you can start to build your newsletter from there. Where would you share this? You can share this on Instagram. You can share this in your classes. You can see if you have friends who want to exchange freebies. Do you have other wellness facilitator friends out there who are also building a newsletter? You could say, hey, I'll shout out your freebie if you shout out mine. Those kind of collaborations are really powerful. There's always paid ads, which I know people shy away from, but running an ad to some freebies is not a horrible idea. But I always tell people, if you don't know anything about ads, don't jump in all by yourself. It does take some strategy there. Don't worry, I offer trainings around this. I will share with you when those trainings are live again. So if you have interest in paid ads, know that's coming. We'll get to that. Remember, like I said in the last newsletter episode, people check their emails like they check their mail out front of their house. This is not something that people are scrolling past on social media. Even if they have to click the box to press delete, they saw your email come in. So email is one of the still in 2025, going into 2026, one of the most powerful ways to get in touch with your audience. So please don't discount it. Don't think it's dead. Don't listen to the Instagram influencer telling you that email marketing's dead. It's not. It's still so powerful, and it's still the way that I primarily run my business. So the truth is, every yoga teacher can benefit from having a newsletter, from having an email list. And when you don't know where to get started, trust that by getting into motion and starting to get feedback from your students, that is ultimately what's going to develop your content. So just getting started is the hardest step, but pick your software, your hosting platform. Reach out to me on Instagram if you have questions about that. If you're like, Kai, I don't know what the heck a hosting platform is, find me over on Instagram at yoga.with.kai. The coolest thing about this podcast being new is there's not that many of you. So anytime you send me a message, I will get back to you. I'm happy to send you a message, spell it out a little bit more, help you pick one that works for you. I'm not paid by any of these companies, okay? I'm just trying to help you not stay stuck in the soup that I was stuck in for so long. So hit me up over there. Otherwise, just get started. I'll see you next time on Make Yoga Your Business podcast. Take care.